Hey, welcome, and we're going to be going over how I do some basic looping stuff as far as creating loops, and we're going to be using the Loopy Pro program. And to start off, I'm going to show you just the basics of first how to create a new project, and then we'll talk about the loop stuff as well. Now, I do looping in a variety of different ways where I also play and create the loops live, but I also do some where I just have already pre-made samples that I've already curated, and I put them in and I arrange them in a certain order, and I'm able to, create melodies and create songs using these loops and samples. I'm going to show you that way first today, and then in another video, we'll show you how to bring in some things called AUV3 instruments and how you can make loops and such using that as well. Now, when I hit a new project, what's going to happen is the microphone that I'm hooked into, which by the way, is hooked into a PreSonus 24C audio unit, and that is hooked to the iPad, giving me on channel 1 my microphone. When I hit a new project, it's going to go to one side of the speakers with my talking until I actually switch it under the hardware layer that'll be for the microphone. I have to choose the right channel, which in this case is channel 1, to get the stereo sound again, okay? So when I hit new project, and you can now hear me coming out the left channel. So if I hit this button down here on this lane and hit 1, you can see right there that I'm now on channel 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this up a little bit and give me more volume. And yeah, good to go right there. This is Loopy Pro, and this is without any effects on the microphone or any kind of good stuff like that. But this is essentially the tool that I use the most when it comes to doing looping music. Now, I've done hardware samples, hardware looping before with the Boss RC50, the Boss RC20 XL. So I've done those all my years of doing this, probably around 15 years now of doing this. Pretty expensive, $500 a box, for the RC50. It was pretty expensive to get that one. The 505 is the newer one, and that's pretty beastly, but this to me is the be-all end-all of looping software. It is a DAW as well, which is a digital audio workstation. It is also something called an AUV3 host, and we'll get into that into another video to understand exactly what that's all about. But I'm just going to show you the way that you can bring in and layer and arrange loops in order to do loop-based performances live, and also just for creation or recording. So on the screen, what you see here is you see different circles, and these represent the different loop areas that we're in. So if I touch this, test, and tap it again, test, this, test, it just loops, test. Okay? So this can be modified by swiping up, and you can set how many bars. In other words, you can preset how many bars you expect to loop. So if I want to only loop 2 bars and then have it stop recording and play back immediately, I do that through this menu here. The color codes are a way for you to kind of arrange the mixer. So the mixer down below you'll see is color coded as well. So you can see the orange obviously is a volume slider for orange. And also if you hit the up thing on the far right, you'll notice that it also allows you to add different effects to each channel that you have as well for pre-fader and post-fader. And you can also tell the destination that a particular instrument will go to. But we'll talk about that in another video. And this one, the only one I'm really concerned with is the ones we see right here on the screen, all the different, what we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we've got 10 of them, right? You can add as many as you want by going here to the pencil icon on the bottom left, and then there's a circle that you just keep adding them right there, okay? And you can add 50 of them if you want. You can make a full 64 grid array, whatever you want to do. It is all gravy. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one by holding down on it and delete. We don't need that. And we'll come back to our normal 10. Now I have another program that I use called Audio Share, which I highly recommend anybody on the iPad having. And this here allows you to, manage all of your music and your audio and your samples and this and that together. Now, like I mentioned, I do some music where I'm performing it live and creating it on the fly, but there's also some where I already have predetermined loops that I've made, and then I play guitar and vocals along with it, right? So that's that's some of the ones that I do as well. This is an example of one of those. It's a song from Robert Randolph and the Family Band called I Need More Love. And you can hear, if I go here and select this, there's the drums. So you can see the waveform right there where the line is. It's going to finish, and then it's going to play back from the very beginning because I have it set to loop. Right there is a seamless loop. What I want to do is I want to bring them all into Loopy and arrange them in a way where I can perform them live by stopping and starting and doing whatever I want with each of those loops. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we got the drums. So let's add those in. So here on the bottom right of Audio Share, I'm going to hit this little square looking icon. And I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Loopy. Now you'll notice on the top right, you probably don't notice that because it went away, but on the top right, it doesn't have a BPM set because it doesn't know what BPM you have. But it can determine the BPM based off of a bunch of different algorithms, but also based off of what I've typed in, which is 135. So that's the actual number I gave it, so it assumes, I guess, that it's the actual BPM. You'll also notice right below the wavelength is 8 bars. So it's going to play for 8 bars. Now I can divide that, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. For now, though, this is 135, and we're good. Notice the time stretch is on. That gives me my quantize, so it's already going to go ahead, and if it's not perfectly looped, it will get it as perfect as it can. I'm going to hit import, and I'm going to choose to put my drums in the orange channel. So I'm going to tip the first orange one, hit finish, and I'm going to select it by tapping it, and then I'm going to hit play, and you can hear, and look at the little outside indicator that goes around in a circle. It tells you where it is in the loop. Here we go. It comes up to the very beginning, and it's going to loop again. Seamless, because I have that time stretch on. Okay? All right, let me stop that. So we got drums. We're good there. Let's come back here now, and I have a bass. Now, it's only 2 bars, so this is going to be out of sync as far as bar-wise, but it's still going to be in sync tempo-wise. So let's go ahead and import that in. So I'm going to hit that, and again, we're going to bring in Loopy, like that. And here it recognizes it at 135. If it doesn't, then you'll tap it and type in the correct BPM that you know it is, and hit import. I'm going to put the bass in the yellow section. Okay, so everything under yellow will be bass. All right, let's go over next, and let's grab an organ. Cool little groove right there. This one is 4 bars. So far we have 8 bar drum, 2 bar bass, and 4 bar keys, which is already different than the RC50 that I used back in the day, where everything had to be the exact same measures. This is so sweet how this, I love this. So I'm going to go ahead and import this bad boy in here, and we'll do Loopy Pro. I'm going to put these in the green, and again, it recognized that at 135, which is good. And I'm going to tap the green, and there we go. Okay, so now we have that. And lastly, I have a little one-shot little jam thing here. It's a little off the time, but it's meant to be that way. It's still in time, but it's kind of an off rhythm kind of deal, kind of loop. So let's go ahead and bring that bad boy in, and we'll put that over in the, yep, recognize that 135. We'll put that over in the blue section. Right on. All right, so now we have drums, we have bass, we have an organ, and we have this little deal here. Let's play them all together at once. All right, we've got a jam going on. Now what I want you to notice is when I play it, notice the outside bars. They're all different except for the last 2. The last 2 are 4 measures. The bass, which is the yellow, is 2 measures, so you'll see, or 2 bars, so you'll see it be done quicker. And then the last one, the first one, the drums, is 8 bars. So let's try it again and see. Look at the outside bars. And the reason that's important is because if you want to stop like the bass, but you want it to stop after 4 bars or 8 bars, you won't be able to do that until you modify it. So if I were to play it and hit this to stop, it will be done right there after 2 bars. Now I can change that in these settings, but a better way to do it would be to bring it up to how many bars the other two are on the far right, which is the green and the blue. So you'll notice under this waveform, all I did was swipe up on the circle, by the way. You'll notice on the waveform below, it says 2 bars. And then on the top, you see it says multiply. I'm going to hit multiply, and you'll now see it says 4 bars. So now it's made it 4 bars. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the outside ring, and it should follow the yellow, green, and blue should all be the same in time. Excellent. So that brings us now to our drums. If you did want to keep it 8 bars because it had a variety of cool fills in it and stuff, that's fine. You can do that. Just remember that it's 8 bars and it's different than the rest of them. Or bring all the rest of them up to 8 bars is another option you can do. In this case, the drums aren't any different in the first 4 bars than they are for the second 4 bars. So I'm going to swipe up and I'm going to do divide. So again, we see 8 bars underneath the wavelength. I'm going to hit divide. Now it says 4. So now if we play it, all of them should have the same sync. And everything's perfectly in sync. We got the time stretch happening, so it's quantized perfectly. And we have a song. That's essentially what we have right there. And that is how you would create your song. And to give it dynamics, you can then turn things off, turn them back on in real time, whatever. And I'm a big fan of this hand-based looping as opposed to my feet, because I've done that so long for 15 years of trying to keep track of 15 different pedals on the floor of what does stop and what does start, and then hitting next to go to the next loop and this and that. I would prefer to be able to just tap it and have it do it, with me just being able to tap a screen. The problem with that, with some software, maybe like Ableton or some other ones, is they only give you a maximum sometimes of 1 or 2 bars that will give you that leeway. Now, 1 or 2 bars is not a whole heck of a lot of time to tap and then get your hands back to maybe your keyboard or your guitar to be ready to play the next line. So having the ability to have 4 bars or 8 bars gives you plenty of time to arrange it on the fly by tap, 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 and also still use your hands to get back to your guitar, and you don't need your feet for anything. So for example, if I'm jamming and I have this whole thing going here, I can think ahead of time, how many bars do I want it to go before it'll stop? So I was mentioning it's so difficult for me to hit and wait for 2 bars and then immediately get my hands back. So I would prefer that anytime I tap an already playing loop, that it will wait 4 bars before turn it off. That's just what I want out of this thing right here. So for that to happen, I swipe up and I scroll down here and I see these playback settings. So if I tap that, you can see it's in line with the loop. So currently it is set to be done to start playing or to stop playing after 4 bars. But just to show you how to do it in case it wasn't correctly looped, I would do custom, and I would say I want it to be, slide this over here. It's bugging me out here. Come on now. There we go. 4 bars. Okay, so I've already predetermined this in my project when I saved it that I wanted to play, and then when I tap it, I want it to wait 4 bars. So we're jamming. It's doing its thing, and I'm doing a little solo thing. And 1 second out of my solo, I tap it, and I know by the time it gets around, it will stop the bass. And I didn't have to do a bunch of different things with my pedal, to do whatever. And I'm jamming, and then I take 1 second to tap it, because I know it's going to come around in 4 bars, and boom, bring it all together right here. How sweet is that, right? And you can have it unlimited. You can have 16 bar count in if you want. Sorry about that. Hit my microphone. You can have unlimited, but I mean, that's reasonable, right? 4 bars is pretty reasonable for this sort of thing. This is where it owns a lot of these other different software where it only gives you a 1 or 2 bar lag time when you're doing it hands-free. So that's one reason I really dig that. Same thing happens for record, but we'll talk about that in another video when I show you how to record. Another thing I want to show you before we end this video is we're looking at this and we're saying, okay, well, cool, we got these different colors and these loops, but I forgot, where's my organ again? I can't remember. And you don't want to squint and look at the I Need More Love organ way down, small little letters underneath green. So here's what's cool about this. You hit the pencil icon on the bottom left, and it brings you to an edit screen. All the way to the bottom right, you'll see an A. If you touch that, it brings up this little text deal right there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and tap that, and I'm going to say drums, okay? Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and slide it up so it's a fairly decent size. Maybe, I don't know, let's do about that size. I don't know why this bugs out like this. Like if you touch it, there we go. All right, so I'm going to drag this up to here, and then I'm going to grab with my finger the corner. Whoops. Let me close that. I'm going to grab with my finger the corner of it and drag it out like that. Okay, so now I have that right there. And I can put that anywhere I want. So I can put that here if I want, or up here. I'll put it right there. And I'm going to do it again, hit A, and this time we're going to go ahead and say bass. Just like that, and like that. And then we'll do this. And again, if you can't really see it very well because of the color scheme is too bright, then you can change the color scheme as well. So we'll do, what was it, keys, I think we had, like a little organ deal there. So we'll go ahead and slap that up there. And then I had like a little synth one shot, so I'll just say, you know, synth here. Just like that. And then I'll bring that size up as well. Bring it up here. Oops. And there we go. And then I go back here on the bottom left and hit the thing that looks like a grid, and I have them labeled. Just like that. So now I can see physically where I have what I have, right? And I can able to go ahead and add in wherever I want to add in and turn on whatever I need to turn on. Now, where this comes into play is if you have a really large song with a lot of loops, and I'll show you an example of that. So if I go here to my projects, I have a song I have, which is called Crash Override. And you hear the microphone changed a little bit because I switched projects, and now I have this other one which has a lot more reverb on it. So let me change this back down here, and I'll show you how to add all these things in later videos. All right, so let me bring the volume up a little bit. There we go. So this is an example of one that I have that has a lot of samples, and I'm trying to remember, okay, what order do I want to do this in? And I can change it anytime I want. Now, I have it made in a certain way that I recorded it, but live, you know, you can improv and do whatever you want. So in this case, I said to myself, all right, I have a main kick, I have a main bass, I have a main vox, and I have a main arp, and a main drum, and a main synth, sorry. Those are ones that kind of complete the full melody line. But if I want to kind of make it dynamic and bring things in pieces, kind of get, build into the actual, full chorus, pay off as it were, then I can do it this way. But notice how I labeled everything properly so I can go ahead and do it. So let me show you how this would work. So first, on my song, I have these all set up, by the way, to do the playback and the stop however I want it. In other words, 4 bars are the majority of these. So anytime I tap or tap again while it's playing, it will wait 4 bars before the other one comes in. And what's cool about that is I don't have to wait until the very last second of the last bar to tap 5 different, pads to make that come in. Now, this is a lot easier in something like Ableton where you have scenes, or something like a Kai Force, which is another tool I use. But Loopy has the ability to do scenes as well. I'm just not showing you that now. I'm just showing you how loops work. So just be aware that you can do it just like Ableton and set it up any way that you want to trigger scenes, which are collections of loops that make a bridge, a chorus, a verse, that sort of thing. So that can be done. But I just want to show you how you would just play it without doing scenes. So I'm going to start off with just the main vox. And this is my own song, so no copyright infringement. So you can see it does a full 4 bars. I'm waiting for another 4 bars to come, and what I'm going to do is cue up the main arp right over there on the side. You can see it starting to get ready. I touched it already. Now that's coming in. Now I know what's coming up next is going to be my main bass, but the main bass is, I'm going to wait till it gets past this, now tap it, because I want it to come in right here. There we go. Now the next thing I've got coming in is going to be a riser. Now you'll notice the riser on the bottom is actually 8 bars because it's taking longer, but I'm going to cue that up and let that do its thing. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let me show you what I'm going to do with this next. So I'm going to take that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build into this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing. Let's say, for instance, I'm going to start playing this kick, okay? Now, if I want that kick to give it some dynamic, if I want it to stop 2 bars before the chorus, if I tap it, it's going to wait 4 full bars. So that kind of defeats what I want to do, right? In this case here, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you ahead of time what I'm going to do, is I'm going to double tap it. See how it stops it immediately? So I'm going to double tap it when it gets to around 2 bars. There, 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 there. Just like that. Okay? And then tap it again, and it's going to come back in. That's what I'm going to do here. So we got the main bass, the Vox, and the ARP going. I'm going to bring in the kick and the riser at the same time along with the main synth. So the riser's 8 bars. So the main kick is still going to go around. And what I want to happen is right here, I'm going to turn off the kick, and I'm going to bring in the kick and the main drum. Yeah, there we go. So it gives a little bit of dynamic. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take off the riser by cueing it up to turn off. I'm going to cue up the Serene Soft to come in its place. So this is kind of like a little verse melody, if you will. And you can play this live with an instrument if you want instead. It's up to you. Okay, now I'm going to bring the riser in because it's going to go back into the chorus. So there comes the riser. First 4 measures right there. I'm going to turn off the main kick and main drums 2 bars out. Ready? And then I'm going to hit them again to bring them back in. And immediately turn off Serene Soft as well. So now we're back into the normal chorus again. Now if I want to give it more dynamics and just have the Serene Soft or the other Vox, I'm going to turn off all of these and just have this smooth Vox with the bass and the main Vox and the ARP. And maybe I don't want the bass in there for a portion of it. Maybe I want to turn off the bass and turn on the Serene Soft to give it something more interesting. Just like that. And now maybe I want to bring in the riser. And now that it's out of everybody's ear, the bass and the kick and the drums, now when it does come back into a full chorus, it'll sound, you know, it's kind of building the tension. So you know something's coming up here. And I'm going to turn off the 2 synths here. Right there. Bring in the kick, bass, and drum. Yeah. See what I'm saying? So you can kind of construct it any way you want. And then let's say we want to go to the bridge. The bridge in this case is the Echo Synthetic and the bridge synth. So I'm going to turn all of them off and just have those 2. And that's where it would be handy to have a scene, because that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was 7 loops I had to turn off. But I had 4 bars to do it in, so it's fine. I'm going to bring in 2 more loops right here. Bring in a percussion with some tabla. Now I know in my brain what's coming up next is I'm going to do a melody, which is 8 bars, and I'm going to add in a different drum loop. So I'm going to cue those 2 up, just like this. And I know that bridge melody is going to play 8 bars, but it's going to do a full 16. So I'm going to let it do it one more time around. When it's done running the melody, which is the bridge melody one that I'm looking at, I'm going to go back to the main Vox and main ARP. So right now I'm going to cue up the main Vox and main ARP, and I'm going to cue off the other loops like that. And just like that. How sweet is that, right? And I know here to give it some dynamics, I want the riser and the kick, but I want to leave everything else off just to kind of give it a little bit more, you know, feel to it. Yeah, because you know something big's coming, right? You know the chorus is coming, big chorus. I'm going to turn the main kick off 2 bars out. So, and double tap, and then tap main drums, main bass, and serene. Yeah. And if you ever forget a loop and you want to put it in there right now, like the main synth I forgot about, I'm going to double tap it and it's immediately going to play. So sometimes I'll forget that. Now I'm going to bring in a bridge one as well. So that wasn't part of my normal mix, but I'm live and doing whatever the heck I want to do, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to end with this cool bridge tabla thing. I'm going to turn these 2 off and maybe just keep that. Ooh, I like that, I like that. And then maybe I just want to end with the main Vox and the main ARP. So I'll cue up and cue off the other ones. And I know it will end after 2 bars, so I'll let it run its course. Now I'll tap both of them to make sure they all turn off in time. Boom, done. And that's how you can perform it live when you have a variety of different loops like this. And you can also use, like I said, your labeling to make sure you understand live, okay, where am I going to go next? I know the riser's here, so I got to tap that. Oh, I know that. I want to bring in the drum. So that's why it's important to do that. And there isn't much software out there that does it as good as this, in my opinion. So very cool stuff. Trying to keep this as short as possible. That's the basics of using loops in Loopy Pro. The next video, we'll talk about things like AUV3 and instrumentation. Until next time, peace out, players.